Splinter Cell is a series that I think everybody else holds very close to their heart. This is an iconic franchise in all of stealth history, and with the recent news that the remake is happening and everything, I want to point out some certain things to make sure that Ubisoft absolutely gets it right, and also for them to kind of hear me out on things. Splinter Cell has remained dormant ever since 2013. That's been over a decade since we've gotten a new Splinter Cell. With the news of the remake coming around, everybody is getting hyped for it, myself included. And I want to make sure that Ubisoft gets this point across. But what they could also do is, because I keep on rambling about a Splinter Cell remake, and also my idea for a Splinter Cell Sam Fisher legacy. I'm talking about taking all the Splinter Cells we know and love, from the OG Splinter Cell to Splinter Cell Double Agent to Splinter Cell Chaos Theory to Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, Conviction, and Blacklist, remaking those games, making them totally optimized for modern day consoles and for PCs, so that way we can all enjoy Splinter Cell once again until the remake finally drops, if it's still happening. So the Sam Fisher legacy is something that I want to have. And Ubisoft, if you are watching this video, I hope you brought a condom, because I'm about to fuck your mind. What? Moving right along. For those who have been living under a rock when it comes to amazing linear games, I'll do you all a favor and get you guys up to speed. The first Splinter Cell takes place in the fictional year 2004 and follows Agent Sam Fisher. Fisher is part of a new NSA branch being called Third Echelon and is spearheading the program by being the first solo covert infiltrator for the program. Sam's first mission is in Tbilisi, Georgia, where two CIA agents have gone missing and Sam needs to find them. The plot thickens even more when the country's president, Combin Nicolas, has a serious problem with anything being American and has launched cyber attacks all over the US. It's up to Sam and his Third Echelon buddies to stop him and save the day. Gameplay-wise, the mechanics in this game today would be categorized as clunky, but hear me out. For a game that came out in 2002, it was definitely a revolution. Splinter Cell was Ubisoft's counter against Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid games, and instead of it being an obvious copy, Ubisoft went a whole lot of extra steps to ensure the game stood out against its counterpart. For starters, we have a story that's a little more grounded in reality, a gameplay mechanic that is an absolute bonus, and Sam even has a Swiss Army rifle that shoots a multitude of gadgets at his disposal. The core of the game is obviously to sneak by enemies without being seen, and when you need to take out those that are in your way, you use non-lethal takedowns. However, in the game there are a lot of scripted events where the player will have to utilize the use of the Fifth Freedom. In English, that means Sam is authorized to use lethal force to protect himself and the best interests of the United States and its allies. What made Splinter Cell stand out was the use of lights and shadows to remain hidden from enemies. Sam is equipped with an invisibility meter that informs him of when he is in the light and hidden in the dark. Quoting Sam's boss Lambert, if the meter is at 4, you're lit up like a Dutch brothel. If the meter is at 0, you're a ghost shadow. Even today, the use and effects with lights and shadows still holds up incredibly well and will be as stable in the series moving forward. But when everyone hears Splinter Cell, people automatically think of Sam's iconic trifocal goggles, another gadget at your disposal providing the player with night vision and thermal modes to see enemies and traps. An actual fact about the goggles, when the author of the endorsed series, Tom Clancy himself, saw the trifocal goggles, he actually disagreed with the developers, claiming at the time it wasn't realistic for goggles like that to exist. Ubisoft doubled down, saying they wanted to give Sam something iconic, and Tom Clancy let it slide. It's a good thing he did, because today, with the operators out there, we have the equivalent of LCD screens being attached to their bump helmets. Ubisoft published a video a while back celebrating the 20-year anniversary of the game's release, and even went on to tease us with Splinter Cell getting the remake treatment. This is a very wise step for Ubisoft to make because of how long the series has remained untouched since Splinter Cell Blacklist, which came out back in 2013. Even though another standalone Splinter Cell has yet been released, Ubisoft has kept Sam busy with making cameos in other Ubisoft games such as Ghost Recon Wildlands, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and Rainbow Six Siege. This, to me, and maybe toward other fans, gave us hope that with these cameos, Ubisoft would give us some sort of good news that a Splinter Cell might make a return. But in actuality, all it was Ubisoft being a giant cocktease. A few years pass, and we finally see Ubisoft making their announcement video on a Splinter Cell remake. Of course, I'm jumping over the moon about this information, but at the same time, being very cautious about it. It is Ubisoft after all, and they have had all of their most famous IPs become shells of their former selves. Only look at Rainbow Six Siege to know that my words are true. And I'm also looking at you, Assassin's Creed. So what's the news with the remake? Well, I'll go over the things that we know so far. The Splinter Cell remake is in the early stages of development since 2021. We know that the remake will be made with Ubisoft's Snowdrop engine, the game will stay linear as its predecessor, and that the writers of the game's story are rewriting it for a modern audience. They also said they will keep the spirit of the early games intact, but to keep in mind with a few updates. An article popped up online saying the director of the game, David Gribble, left Ubisoft around late October of 2022. Am I worried about this? Yes and no. Why that is? Keep in mind, Hideo Kojima, the godfather of stealth games himself, left Konami shortly after the release of Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Even with him out of the picture, that will not stop Konami from remaking an iconic series, and that prime example is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, aka Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. There hasn't been any other updates about the Splinter Cell Remake in terms of Ubisoft canceling the game outright, but I believe it won't come down to that. My mother, Mama Snotrag, would always tell me no news is good news. So I'm not too worried that David Gribble left Ubisoft, and I don't think Ubisoft will shoot themselves in the foot by dropping the project. They have already released concept art for the game, and that's leaving me and countless fans far and wide wanting more. A remake of Splinter Cell would be a saving grace for Ubisoft, and with countless amounts of evidence that will support my statement. Look at all the recent remakes of games we've been blessed with as of late, starting with the Resident Evil franchise. We have Resident Evil 2 Remake that did insane numbers, grossing $128.9 million.
That's a spicy meatball!
Capcom didn't stop there and banked out Resident Evil 3, which sold over 7 million copies as of March 2023. So that one didn't do too hot because of all the cut content from the game. But hear me out. Capcom then came at us with the biggest left hook by giving us the remake of one of the most iconic survival horror games to date, Resident Evil 4. And as you might have guessed, with Capcom creating this remake and doing the original justice by staying true to its roots and overhauling the game in numerous places it deserved, Resident Evil 4 Remake did absolute numbers, with a whopping 142 million copies sold as of March 2023. Let's not forget about the Dead Space remake either, another iconic survival horror game that also got the remake treatment and placed second of the top-selling video games of 2023. Are you taking notes, Ubisoft?
Write that down, write that down!
What is the Sam Fisher legacy? This is a concept that I have had sitting in my back pocket at least 3 or 4 years after Splinter Cell took an indefinite hiatus. Imagine if Ubisoft did Splinter Cell what 343 Industries did for the Master Chief Collection. Taking all the games we know and love, giving them a fresher coat of paint, optimizing the games for consoles and PC, and putting them into one package. Ubisoft did wet their whistle with this idea back in 2011 by making the Splinter Cell HD trilogy, exclusively for the PlayStation 3. But that bundle only included the first 3 games, leaving Double Agent and Conviction in the dust. With this idea in mind, I would ask Ubisoft to make the collection for all current platforms. Everyone in the world has the right to enjoy this franchise. People who are watching this video are without a doubt agreeing with me that this remake would mean the world to loyal fans of the games, not to mention introducing a new generation to an iconic franchise. And if possible, make sure that Spies vs. Mercs makes a return, and also co-op for Chaos Theory, Conviction, and Blacklist come back better than ever. My closing statements of the video. To Ubisoft, thank you for creating a franchise that started my love of gaming. Splinter Cell was in fact my first video game I ever played on the Nintendo GameCube, if anyone remembers that console. My most important thing to say to you guys is, don't screw this up. Take notes from Capcom and listen to your fans. Do not turn this game into Assassin's Creed. No one wants an RPG-styled Splinter Cell. I say again, no one. Just look at what happened with Metal Gear Survive. No one wanted it, and no one talks about it. Do the series justice to not only the fans, but to the ones responsible for creating it back in 2002. Do this remake right, and things will be right as rain for your company, I promise you. As for a Sam Fisher Legacy Collection, I'll wait for you guys to hit me up on that one. Lastly, I want to thank everyone who watched this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Get it out there so we can bring everyone together to discuss the Splinter Cell Remake and my idea for the Sam Fisher Legacy in the comments section. Keep it cleaned up. Thank you guys so much. And as always, stay frosty.